Coming up, the Prime Minister puts his foot down in the House.
Plus, find out why these two men went to court today.
And later, we hear from the Bahamian Yankee. The Bahamas Tonight, the National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Strong words from the nation's chief regarding claims about a power struggle within the PLP. Good evening, I'm Opal Roach.
And I'm Candino Knowles. So Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, made it clear that he is the nation's leader, and no amount of criticism will prevent him from doing what he feels is right for the country. Cleopatra Murphy has the story.
Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie asserting in the House of Assembly Thursday night that he marches to the beat of his own drum and will address the situation regarding Bamboo Town Member of Parliament Renward Wells and Stellar Waste to Energy on his time. The Prime Minister was responding to Member of Parliament for Montague Richard Lightbourne's charge that one is inclined to agree with Fort Charlotte Member of Parliament Dr. Andre Rollins' allegations that Wells is being used as a pawn in a power struggle within the Progressive Liberal Party. Lightbourne called out government for its silence on Wells' signing of a more than $600 million letter of intent with Stellar Waste to Energy.
3 months ago, the Prime Minister called for the resignation of the member who had signed the letter of intent, and then 2 days later the member for Cat Island indicated that Rumkey as well and San Salvador, that the matter did not appear to be immediate and that perhaps it would not require the resignation of the member.
Lightbourne says government has shown a lack of leadership in its failure to address what appeared to be a simple issue. As for those claims of a power struggle within the Progressive Liberal Party, the Prime Minister says those within the party understand the process of removing him as leader, as the PLP is democratic.
I am not going to march to the drum of any other drummer than myself. That's the first one. Secondly, the member for Bamboo Town knows my position, Mr. Speaker, and you could assume if I spoke to him on day one that my position has not changed, and therefore I'm sitting here in this parliament when a member is defying me. I have the capacity to tell him, get out, Mr. Speaker, and he understands exactly what my position is. And I hope, Mr. Speaker, when the House meets, he will be able to say so.
The Prime Minister says he told Wells he should not allow Rollins to question their integrity by implication, but to speak honestly. He says Lightbourne need not worry about his capacity to make decisions that come with being Prime Minister. On the gaming bill, Christie says he takes full responsibility for his actions and says what he did was necessary.
We had the Organization of American States coming in here with respect to the Convention on Corruption for an examination. I was critical of the Attorney General's office for not publicizing this because they are teachable moments, the inspections we have to go to as a country. They asked this member, as the acting Attorney General, any number of questions as to what's happening in the Bahamas and why, one of which was, how is it a minister could be a minister in the government and come out and be a consultant?
Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
Well, still from the House of Assembly, the Public Beaches and Public Parks Authority bill was passed Thursday night, with Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie wrapping up the debate. The new authority will have oversight over plan, design, management and maintenance of public parks and beaches. The Prime Minister says this bill will also protect the rights of some 550 long-term contract workers who will be absorbed into the authority and made permanent and pensionable.
This legislation, an opportunity to put the country in a position where the work this act will cause to take place will supplement the work of the National Trust and the Nature Conservancy, both of whom do great work here. And together we are going to build up a body of research and knowledge that will be taught in our institutions about our own country. Right now, the difficulty is we do not know what exists here.
Now, the Prime Minister says government's goal is to establish a national park on each island. Using Bimini as an example, Prime Minister Christie says the legislation will also ensure Bahamians have the right to recreational activities in parks despite development.
We are not going to surrender to development the right of the people of Bimini to have recreational activities, sporting activities, Mr. Speaker, and parks. And so part and parcel of what we're doing in the face of a major development, Mr. Speaker, is protecting the rights of our citizens to have access to those things.
In other news tonight, poaching has been a major concern for decades, and many fishermen have complained that their catch is well below their investment because foreigners are raping our waters. Well, our Juanita Swain was in Spanish Wells and she talked to a number of fishermen.
Fishermen of the vessel First One say their recent fishing trip, short of 2 months, netted a noticeably decreased catch, but they also stumbled across something else. Ronnie Pender, a fisherman of 35 years, shared with ZNS News, reported Dominican bait cups they came across.
Actually, they're using them in our condos and putting them by the mouth of the traps to bait. As well as the reefs. Yeah, as well as the reef, to bait the crawfish to our personal traps, so where they could come by and get them when they're ready to reap them.
Pender, along with Lance Pender, say they collected about 50 or more of those bait traps, which he believes was clearly made in the Dominican Republic.
It shows you the manufacture date, which was June the 3rd, 2014, which means that these were put on the Bahama banks during our off-season, when we were home, when the banks were supposed to be being protected by the Defense Force. No one's out there. They are out there. All of these were manufactured and put out there.
The Penders and other Spanish Wells fishermen say they found very little when they fished the Bahama banks at the opening of the crawfish season. The crew of the Papa J had similar concerns.
This season we're probably down 20 or 30% on our catch, and we can't continue as we're going right now.
Dominicans on the southern Bahama banks, they are leaving nothing. They're taking spawny, they're taking small, they're taking all fish and all conch.
The fishermen said a number of measures can be implemented to protect and conserve the fishing industry.
To see that no permits of any kind should be issued to any non-Bahamian to be on any fishing vessel in the Bahamas, not even as a mechanic or a deckhand.
Towing in more Dominican boats. I want to see them towing in 2 Dominican boats a month. We spent all this money on these new Defense Force boats, and I'm looking to see something done.
There are hotels in this country that are buying crawfish under market value out of season. It has to stop.
Fishermen on this island are all in agreement about one thing. They say if the fishing industry is not protected, it will only be a matter of time before it dies. Juanita Swain, ZNS Network News.
Well, a very special guest from Carnival Groups visited our shores on the invitation of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce.
Well, Carnival CEO, along with the country's executives and business leaders, mixed and mingled at Palm Key last evening.
As Jared Higgs tells us tonight, the Carnival Group CEO expressed great pleasure at doing business in the Bahamas.
Well, we apologize. Local health officials are on alert as the United States cites its first case of the deadly Ebola virus. There have been no confirmed cases here, but the virus spread by contact with bodily fluids is a global threat. Tonight, Keishla Adley talks with a health official who says the Bahamas remains on guard.
It's a name synonymous with the most ghastly infections from afar. But today, Ebola has reached the Western world with a single case in Texas, which officials there are trying to keep contained. A social media message which spread like wildfire 2 weeks ago, speculating about a case in the Bahamas, perhaps put health officials on alert. Although all hopes are against local cases appearing, health officials say they must be realistic.
We know there are going to be, at some point, passengers who are going to travel to the region that are going to have Ebola. Given the size of the outbreak in West and Central Africa, you know it's going to continue to grow. All of the projections through CDC, through the World Health Organization and the Pan American Health Organization say this is going to grow significantly from where it is over the next few months.
The latest outbreak of Ebola is ravaging West Africa with 7,000 cases to date, more than 3,000 of them fatal. Right now, a local plan is in process covering every element from border protection to hospitalization.
In the health sector, both in the public and private health sector, we've gathered together the stakeholders that really have to worry about taking care of the patient so that when a patient comes in, no matter where they're identified within the system, we know what we're going to do to isolate the patient, to protect our healthcare workers, and deliver the type of care that we know needs to occur, but while also making sure that the population's protected. Our other stakeholders outside of that include those people at the ports of entry, to include customs and immigration, those people who may be involved even from a non-healthcare standpoint.
There are more specific plans too, which may help to allay fears over a mass spread of the disease, with symptoms like hemorrhagic fever, headache, joint and muscle pain, and weakness.
Patient that were to come in suspected, whether it was someone who was already in country or we were accepting them for care from the outside, not knowing that it was Ebola, we know that we have the type of isolation facilities in place that would be required to keep the patient from exposing more people, whether that's healthcare workers and or the general population. You do also have to provide care for them. So we have made an inventory of the amounts of personal protective equipment we have so that those people that are charged with taking care of the person, whether in transport or while they're actually a patient and being cared for, we know what levels of personal protective equipment we have, and if we need to mobilize resources from the region, we know that who we're going to tap into. So we've partnered with the Pan American Health Organization.
The plan is backed by the support, should it be necessary, from the Pan American Health Organization. Speaking to the public outcry, which often accompanies perceptions that disease outbreaks aren't announced soon enough, Brennan says the practice is to disseminate such information when health officials have all the facts. Keishla Adderley, ZNS Network News.
BTC CEO Leon Williams has announced the launch of BTC TV by next March. The surprise announcement came yesterday while the CEO was speaking to business owners at an event hosted by the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce.
We have upgraded the network and are in the process of spending some $65 million this year, this fiscal year ending in March, to improve our cellular network as well as to deliver services like IMPLS and MPLS that gives the high-speed bandwidth that businesses need. In addition to that, I suppose I can take this opportunity to announce that sometime between now and March, we hope to get into the business of television. So we'll be launching our own IPT network. Coming soon, stay tuned.
And this just into the newsroom. The College of the Bahamas has announced the appointment of Dr. Rodney Smith as COB president for a period of 3 years. Dr. Smith will take over the country's largest tertiary education institution on Monday. The 1986 graduate of Harvard University earned a doctorate in educational administration, planning, and social policy. According to a press statement, contrary to public speculation about the salary and benefits package of the new president, the college assures that it is in line with that of previous holders of the office of president. The last president reportedly had a salary of around $250,000. And coming up, find out why they went to court today.
And then in sports, we hear from a Bahamian major leaguer. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.